So yeah, first paid gig. It was for a friend's event, right? And she didn't have like a huge budget, or else she would have probably gotten an actual professional. Instead, she got me, right? I'll tell you how much she paid me later on. That's not what's important right now. I took the gig because I needed some cash, and also I needed the experience, right? This is something I want to do, especially hitting a lower budget audience, right? Because yeah, I know that it's gonna like bring the whole like economy of photography down, like, you know, lowering the cost or whatever. I don't think that's true, right? There are professionals out there who charge like an arm and a leg, and they do really good work, but people like my friend, they were never going to hire that person, right? They were never going to do that. She was either gonna have a friend do it with an iPhone or try to do it herself while running this event, which wouldn't have been good because she needed to be focused. Having a little bit of wine because it's Saturday and I'm worth it. So going into this event, I didn't know what I was doing, but I wanted to appear as professional as possible, even though it was for my friend, and I could have essentially just shown up and done anything. I wanted to treat it like we weren't friends, you know, like she was a paying client and I was a professional. What do professionals do? So I was a professional motion designer and storyboard artist for 10 plus years. And when people would come to me, I would give them like the scope of what I would deliver to them within a certain amount of time and a certain budget. In the world of chefs and kitchens, the checklist is like king, right? You got a checklist, it offloads your thoughts. You don't have to store everything in your head. You can offload that information onto a separate little piece of paper. It's like a second brain, right? And it helps out. So I had a checklist of things that I needed to do before the event and what I needed to do during the event. Here's my one-page checklist of everything I did the day or so before the event. I brought 2 cameras. I brought my Sony A6700 and I brought the DJI Pocket 3. So I simply made sure I didn't have anything important on those, and then I just formatted them. Simple, done. I even had a spare lesser SD card that doesn't have quite as fast write speeds, just in case. I didn't know. And I figured I could use that one just for photographs and not for video. Formatted that too, not a big deal. I decided which lens I needed for my A camera, and I chose the Tamron 17 to 70 millimeter. I've filmed with that before, and it can give me such a wide variety of like nice tight shots and wide shots. Obviously 17 to 70. I knew the event was gonna be a lot of hands-on stuff. It was kind of like an art event, like a hands-on sort of art therapy meets arts and crafts, drink and draw, you know, like a feel good, get people together, get them working with their hands, get them being creative in ways that, you know, just opens them up a bit, right? So I knew they'd be working with their hands. I wanted to be able to get tight on them hands, and I wanted to get wide so I can get, you know, multiple people at once. I was hoping to vlog during the event with my iPhone, and that was an expectation that wasn't met, and that was totally cool. That was totally a side mission. I'll get to that later. But in preparation, I did make sure I had all the memory cleared off that as well. I also made sure that the presets in my cameras were set up and ready to go for a variety of things. I decided that the Sony would be primarily doing photo with a little bit of video, and that the Pocket 3 would be the video capturing camera because it's stable. You know, it's super stable. I could do slow-mo very easily on it, but I did want to get some video with the Sony because it's just gonna look better. I have 2 presets in the Sony. One is like S Cinetone with manual exposure, and the other one is S-Log 3 with manual exposure, and then aperture priority I would switch to sometimes if the lighting was tricky. And across the board, it was 24 frames a second with a shutter speed of 48 and 1/48, whatever. And I would manually set the white balance so that everything, you know, more or less would work well together. On the Pocket 3, it was the same. It was 24 frames a second. I wanted to jump in real quick and say that when I was filming with the Pocket 3, I was shooting at 60 frames a second with the intention of working in a 24 frame per second timeline so that I could slow the footage down. I think I had that exposure set to auto. and shot in D-Log, so I could do a good job of matching the footage from the two cameras together. For funsies, I brought my Viltrox 25mm, my Viltrox 35mm, my Yongnuo 11mm, and I just had like some filters on me, just in case, just for fun. I also brought my monopod and a tripod. I didn't use any ND filters with the Pocket 3 because it was set to auto exposure. I did mostly have an ND filter on the Tamron lens, and then the other two lenses that I switched to later on in the evening, they didn't have the ND filter, but I think I put a black mist filter on the 11mm. I brought my USB like charging cables, an extension cord that has like multiple outlets, and I brought a power bank. Going back to the topic of providing the client with a list of expectations, I developed what I felt like was a pretty realistic goal to hit as far as what I would do while I was there and what I would deliver after all the editing was done. I told my friend I was going to deliver 50 to 80 edited photos. Probably a lot. I don't know. That was just a number. After doing some research online, that was a number I came to. I felt like it would be a good challenge, and it couldn't have been that hard, right? I also said I was going to deliver one edited highlight video between 60 and 90 seconds and deliver 2 to 3 vertical video for social between 10 and 20 seconds. I also had a checklist for directly after the event, and that was to back everything up and then go through all the photos and cull like crazy. I would edit the photos first, then I would edit the highlight video, and then from the highlight video, I would do the social media vertical cut downs. I didn't share with my friend, the client, my personal checklist, right? That's not for them. What I shared with her was what I promised to deliver. She was blown away because she's just asking a friend with a camera who she knows makes videos to show up and film and photograph her event. You know, it's really important for her and she's asking for a favor. I could have just said, yeah, and showed up, you know, yeah, I'll do it, whatever, show up, do some crap. Like I said, I wanted to treat this like a professional job. When I told her what I was planning on giving as deliverables, she was just like blown away, right? She thought it was like she couldn't believe what she was getting for the price that she was paying, or that I would care so much, you know, but I do, I care a lot. Now let's talk about my expectations, how I thought it was gonna go. I honestly, I know she had explained to me before how the event was gonna be, but I thought it was going to be a little bit more busy, right? I thought there'd be a little bit more movement, a little bit more mingling, a few different activities perhaps. What ended up happening was a little bit of a meet and greet, mingle, grab some snacks, grab a drink, you know, get loose. And then everyone immediately went to the table. Long table, bunch of seats. She delivered a speech. She got the materials to people and they got down to business and started working. And that was it. So most of the event was just people sitting down, busy working and talking to each other. The problem with that was there was just like very little going on. So I thought I was gonna get a lot of these like standing shots of people chatting and talking, but it was it was a lot more simple than that. It was just people sitting at a table. I also thought I'd be shooting from the monopod a lot. I just got this monopod. It's really neat. I really enjoy using it. I can't wait to test it out in the field. And I thought I would be like walking around with that, setting it up, like leaning around, doing some like tilts and pans and stuff like that. But I think in the moment I was just, I guess maybe afraid of stopping and doing that or like getting in the way. You'll see from some of the photos that I show right now that there's this long table and there wasn't a whole lot of room to walk around it. And I thought that maybe moving around with the monopod would, you know, I'd hit a chair or like hit somebody in the back of the head or it'd be too loud or something. I thought I'd be like setting it up and filming her giving a speech, maybe mic her up and capture what she had to say. She didn't want to get mic'd up. That was totally cool. I thought it would be like, you know, I'd really be editing some audio and cutting together something that she had to say, but the thought of that made her really nervous. It was her first event. So we changed plans. I was like, okay, we'll be recording no audio. I'll just be recording visuals. We'll put some music over it. You don't have to worry about what you're saying. Nobody in the room has to worry about what they're saying. And it'll just make the whole event feel a little bit lighter and carefree. Being the selfish, self-centered YouTuber that I am, I really wanted to vlog during the event. I wanted to mount my phone onto the camera and point it at me and be mic'd up myself and like sneak away and like talk about how it was going. The reality was I was being paid to be there and shoot the event, not film content for my channel. So that idea immediately went out the window. Basically what I'm getting at is I brought too much gear. I brought a monopod, which acted as a stand for my camera while I was changing out lenses. I brought a tripod. Granted, it was really light, but that's extra gear. I brought stuff for my phone, like a microphone for myself so that I could vlog. I don't know. I guess that's what I thought. It totally changed. It changed day of. My expectations of how I was going to work that day changed as soon as I got there and I started speaking with her. Let me talk about the things that went well. Choosing the Tamron 17-70 went really well. I did end up switching the lens out, but about 90% of the time I was shooting with that. The lens itself has a vibration control, which adds a little bit more stabilization, which was great. Choosing to use the Pocket 3 as the main video camera went really well. I thought that the footage from the Sony was going to be awesome looking, but I don't know what happened. I filmed it and I was going to use Catalyst Browse to stabilize it, but it didn't capture the gyroscopic data for some reason. So I didn't have active stabilization on because I read, if you're gonna use Catalyst Browse, don't use active stab, just use like standard. But it didn't work. So my Sony footage, although I took a fair amount, I could only use a little bit of it. I ended up relying heavily on the DJI Pocket 3's footage because it was so stable and nice. I will mention I did make sure to keep it in the mode where it wouldn't tilt, you know, only pan. And that really made it look great. That was a good choice. That was a good choice on my part, I must say. Also, shooting mostly in 60 frames per second with the Pocket 3 went really well because I was able to take that footage and slow it down. You know, trying to tell a story with what was happening at the event. So being able to go from footage that was normal speed to like slow speed, you know, hands moving, all that kind of stuff. Like it made for more like visual texture going from like fast to slow. So I'm glad I did that. The lighting in the house was gorgeous from one direction. From the other direction, it was all backs in shadow. That was a challenge. My final edit of the video went really great. I think I told a great story through the edit of an event of people coming together, meeting, the speaker delivering something important. Folks at the table were listening intently, keeping in mind her vision for this business of hers, and that what needs to be expressed through this video is the feeling of it as much as possible and much less about, you know, the words being spoken. The editing of the photos looked good. She got some nice shots of the materials that she uses, people working, people smiling, people happy. And more importantly, I think she has a great photo album of her like very first event. She has this whole roadmap planned out for like her next 100 or her next 99 events. And the first one's always gonna be the toughest. And it's also gonna be one of the most important ones. So she now not only has stuff to use on her website and on any kind of marketing material, she now can look back on these photos and always remember, you know, the people that were there to support her, you know, how nervous she was, how well it went, and the things that, you know, she would like to do differently as well. All right, let's talk about what went wrong. I shot way too many photos. I was trying to capture, I had a goal of capturing between 300 and 500. I captured closer to 1,000 because I just wanted to make sure I had stuff. I wasn't confident in my shooting is what it is, right? I shot a lot. I did a lot of like just rapid fire, trying to get really cool moments. I was sort of allowing myself to do that, right? Like, let's just open it up, freaking full auto, blah, 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 blah. Like, let's just get some photos, it'll be fine. In the end, it just created a lot more work for me because I had to cull so many photos. I feel like a lot of the photos ended up being the same. I wish I could have gotten a greater variety of images, but I did what I could. I could have been more intentional too about where I was placing myself. I was too in my head and too focused on like, I can't miss stuff because I don't get a second chance, right? I could have paused, stepped back, and like maneuvered in ways, crouched down, stood on a chair, just done other things instead of walking around. Other than that, I wouldn't really say anything went wrong. Honestly, these are a little bit more of like what I would do differently as opposed to what went wrong. I feel like because of my preparation, things went pretty smoothly. My other like big problem is I just simply do not think in vertical. And one of my deliverables was vertical video. I ended up making some just totally fine vertical video by taking the horizontal and like auto framing it and stuff. But if I had stopped and thought about it, I would have just rotated my camera and shot and framed in vertical format, and it would have made my life easier in the end. But I just don't think in vertical. I can't wrap my head around it. I need to make some sort of reminder for myself that says stop, shoot vertical. The reality of the situation is it was a lot more work than I thought it was gonna be. Being there in the moment, taking photos and video, that's one thing. Editing video, even if it was just that, just a filming and editing video job, that's another. But doing it all, right? Like showing up, switching from photo to video, trying to think in those mind spaces. It's different, like they're similar, but it's different. Trying to, be somewhat personable with people while I'm there. And then all of the editing, the culling, the everything, right? It's a lot more work. And I understand why people charge what they do for it. I'm not gonna tell you how much she paid me because you're gonna be like, what, why? Why did you do that job for that amount of money? Because I needed to learn, right? I needed the practice and I needed to help a friend, right? This is something I wanna do. I need to get my reps in, and if I could get paid for practice, like that's great. Am I gonna go out and do this amount of work for such little pay again in the future? No, I'm definitely going to scale the amount of work that I do with the amount people are willing to pay me. This is a friend. This was very important to her. It was important for us to support our friend. And I'm always looking for ways that I can serve others. And I found this opportunity. It came to me. I asked for it. Am I super great? Are these the best photos and video? No, but I'm learning, right? I'm just a crappy YouTuber with a decent camera learning to get good. It was a lot of work, and I should definitely try to make more money or do less work in the future. If you've ever done any sort of like on-the-job training, you know that you learn more in 3 hours than you can in like a month of casually practicing. Yeah, I can go stand outside and like shoot a leaf or like a cool looking car or something, but being there, in the moment, a finite amount of time, I learned so much. I learned, even looking at my photos, I'm like, man, I screwed up there. I could do so much better. And also I needed a flash, which thankfully I got one. So yeah, I learned a lot, right? I didn't screw up, right? I screwed up a little bit, right? But I didn't ruin anyone's day. I ruined one person's day. I didn't ruin anyone's day. I was a pleasure to be around. I should have asked more people to like come together and get like goofy photos of them smiling and like hugging each other. I didn't do any of that. I was too concerned. I will be much more relaxed, hopefully next time. I will try to remember all of these things. I will try to make more money or work less. And I'll just generally try to remember everything that I did wrong and everything that I did well. And the next time I get one of these gigs, hopefully it all goes a little bit more smoothly and I make more money. Gotta make that money, gotta make this camera pay itself off. Yeah, that was it. I hope you found this to be a valuable video, right? I hope that you are also going to go out there and find your first paid gig, and that maybe some of the stuff that I said made a little bit of sense and will help you at least not make the same mistakes that I made. But, what can we do? Sometimes you just gotta make mistakes. So thanks for watching, and I will try to make another video sometime.